Hey everybody, so this is going to be our first time doing a podcast for our Legendary Marvel channel, just due to the fact that the current environment is not exactly the perfect environment for two-player games in Legendary Marvel due to social distancing and the coronavirus as a whole. What Fitz and I have decided to do is actually take our box review videos and also take a few other types of review videos and put them into almost a podcast form where he and I do a discussion about the topic instead of just doing something more formal like we were planning on doing before. So we figured this would be our best option.
And just for everybody else to know, I'm going to be the one that sounds very techno and grainy since I'm the one who's away from the recording. So please bear with it.
Yeah, so we figure we'll just kind of work with what we got and just kind of keep going from there. So what we're going to do today, though, is we're going to talk about the actual big boxes that we liked. We're going to try and order these from the ones we liked least, all the way up to the ones that we like the most of all. And I think that our lists are going to be a little bit different because we both haven't actually talked about these lists because we kind of want to go in blindly to see what our opinions are on the topics. So let's go ahead and we can actually start with our worst, the one that we like least. Like I said, none of these are bad boxes, but it's just that some of them we like more than others, of course.
And do we just want to go ahead and kick me off right now? I'll go ahead and start with my least favorite.
Yeah, sure. You can stay though if you want to. We don't need to kick you off.
No, I'm just going to leave now. You're going to do this podcast all by yourself now.
Yeah, sure. You can kick us off.
All right, so like Zach said, going from least favorite, I'm actually going to go ahead and vote least favorite of the big boxes, Legendary Civil War.
Okay, so we're the same then. We're the same for that category. So yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, my reasons are quite simple. The fact that I guess I just wasn't wowed by the fact of what was in there, and I felt like there could have been more. Like the Civil War is that iconic comic book scene for Marvel, and when I opened the Legendary box and saw what was in there, yeah, it was cool, it was fun, but it just didn't translate well. I don't know, but maybe I was too excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, there are a few things about the set that I did really enjoy. Some of the things that I liked is that they added a little bit more of a balancing factor to the sidekicks because you don't just have Bucky's that you're dealing with now from Secret Wars Volume 1, but instead it introduces some of these other sidekicks like I think there's Lockjaw and Zabu and there's Hairball and some of these other ones just to be able to mix things up a little bit. So it's kind of like the opposite of what happened with the Shield Agent deck, a Shield Officer deck.
Right. I mean, keep in mind too, like this came out before the Shield Officer deck, so they've had time to practice that.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's small box expansions.
Yeah.
I think another thing I wasn't a huge fan of is Grievous Wounds.
I'm sure you aren't.
Well, not for the reasons that you think. It's just they're not as grievous, I feel, as they could be, if that makes sense.
How would you change them then? What would you add to it?
I don't know. I just feel like the fact that I can heal so easily from most of those grievous wounds doesn't make me think that it's that big of a deal. It's just another wound. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, and the nice thing about those grievous wounds, though, is the fact that, if you have another wound in your hand and you're healing it away, you can also heal the grievous wound away, too, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I think there's only a couple of them where they actually say the text is specifically you have to do this particular ability to heal, but
yeah.
There are so many other cards to just get rid of grievous wounds. It's almost like what was the point?
Yeah, my primary issue with this set is just the selection of heroes that are there. Even though there's 16 different hero groups in here, I just wasn't wowed by many of them. I mean, having Luke Cage in there and Hulkling and Hercules, a lot of these characters are just kind of okay characters. Like we already had Luke Cage from Dark City, didn't we?
No, actually.
What was he in? No, he was in Noir. Noir, that's what it was.
He's in Noir, a small box, and this is actually, I think, his only main hero debut was in this one, and it was I would agree, kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
I also was not a huge fan, and I know you're going to disagree with me on this. I am not a fan of double cards.
No, I agree completely. I never want to play with the split cards.
I don't know why. I feel like they took the concept of the split card and they made it like you got half the power on one side and half the power on the other, which I guess they read too much into the concept of splitting the card. They even took the effects and made them neither is good by itself. You want to have both.
Yeah, well, thematically it makes sense, of course, but I really like the way they changed it to do it with Hellcat specifically, where Hellcat has, the two abilities within the one card. Maybe they could have found a way to tie in the two characters into one card set without having to split the cards like that, because just having the cards turned horizontally like that, it's kind of, even just that kind of throws you off just a little bit when you're trying to count stuff up.
Right. No,
So,
I would agree with that.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and one of the other redeeming qualities about this set is the a couple of the masterminds. I really liked Authoritarian Iron Man, and I also really liked the Maria Hill Director of Shield one. Both of those are really fun masterminds to play against, but Maria Hill is pretty difficult specifically.
I was actually going to say the exact same thing, that the redeeming quality of this set is the masterminds and the villains.
Yeah.
Those, I think, actually came exactly the way I wanted to. Authoritarian Iron Man, one of the most difficult masterminds to fight, but one of my favorite.
Yeah, remember the first time we played against Authoritarian Iron Man? How we played against it?
It was horrible.
Yeah, well, what we did was we actually played it incorrectly, which happens, happens fairly frequently. We took each mastermind, and instead of moving it down the city and having it occupy one space, we had it occupy each space. So there were 4 Authoritarian Iron Mans in the city that were occupying it, instead of just one of them that was moving along the line. So we actually still won that game. Remember, it was me, you, and like 3 other people. This was a 5-player game too. So
I mean,
that's
that
pretty
just
good.
kind of, I guess, could be an example of a house rule if you want to kind of take on that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be difficult.
It's like the epic side of the mastermind, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The special bystanders that were added this as well were actually pretty cool. I always really like when the comic shop keeper comes up in the actual bystander stack because he's actually a really good bystander.
I'm kind of on the fence on that. Like bystanders, I feel like are almost kind of an afterthought to me. It's more if they get captured by a hero, then it's really enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so I'll go to the next box then. So my 5th box is going to be Secret Wars Volume 2.
So you were saying you might think our lists are going to be different, but I actually am also Secret Wars Volume 2.
That's funny. That's funny. So what is your reason for putting it there?
Honestly, it's because I felt like Secret Wars Volume 2 was just pretty much, well, what heroes we got left, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, those? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll just throw them in here. Like, Captain Britain made an appearance, for crying out loud. Don't get me wrong. Captain Britain's cool.
Yeah.
To a point when you realize you're talking about Captain Britain.
Yeah, I thought I remember reading that Secret Wars Volume 1 and 2 were one box set, but it was just way too big, so they had to split it into 2 sets.
I remember reading that as well, and I can totally see it. It totally makes sense.
Yeah. And the heroes in this set are just, a lot of them are just so obscure because I'm not that familiar with the Secret Wars comic run as a whole, and so like having things like Phoenix Force, Cyclops, and Soul Sword, Colossus, all these different things are just kind of like obscure to me, and so it's hard for me to be able to like connect with those types of characters. So I mean, some of the heroes I do like, for example, Shang-Chi, and then like Spider-Gwen, and the Beast in this set is really, really good.
I do like the Illuminati hero class or hero team and the Cabal hero team.
Yes.
I think those were terrific additions. I love that story out of the Marvel universe, and the fact that they actually made that into 2 hero teams, I thought was a really good play. Yeah. And this is one of those box sets where there are Illuminati and Cabal. Corvus Glaive for Cabal being one, and then Beast actually is Illuminati.
Yeah, but to be honest though, with this set, I don't think there's any way to defend putting in Dr. Punisher Soldier Supreme. That one is just way too out there for me.
I'm trying to find a way to defend it, but there really is nothing I can do to defend it.
So this one has a key word that I remember that you really like as well. Was it like the Circle of Kung Fu?
Yeah, it's got the Circle of Kung Fu where the villain or actually the hero can come out, and if you have, like, the villains in particular, if they have a hero is in the city that costs the number for that Circle of Kung Fu, so it like says 7th Circle of Kung Fu, and if there is a hero in the HQ for that cost, then that villain gets that additional attack put on there. So it kind of encourages you to buy things from the HQ just to make villains weaker.
Yeah.
and you also just you never know what you're going to get. But it's not too hard of an ability that the villains just become this unbelievable, insane monstrosity.
Okay.
There's a simple way to beat it.
Oh, cool, cool. Now, one of the villain groups that I actually haven't played against before is X-Men 92. Have you used that one?
I've not done a video on X-Men 92 or included them in there, but I have played games against them, and they are classic 90s X-Men, but they're the
Oh,
villain group, and when
okay.
you fight them, you get them as a hero.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so let me see. And some of the schemes are good, but not incredible, of course. And the bystanders are okay. And this adds a few more ambition cards. But overall, I mean, honestly, it's very close to with me between this and Civil War. I mean, if
Yeah,
I the only thing that would potentially push Civil War past is some of the heroes like having Wiccan and Vision and the masterminds themselves. But that's about it.
I it's close. I will agree with you. It's very close with Civil War being last, and then this one kind of coming up right above it.
Yeah.
This one, just to me, I don't actually the fact that I made the comment of it's so random with all of its heroes. All I think also kind of puts it above Civil War for me, just barely,
Yeah.
because Civil War I knew what I was getting, and I don't know why I was just still disappointed by it. It made sense, but at the same time, this is kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Thematic, but not that interesting. So, and
correct.
that's kind of where I look at this box. Like, if I were to like play this box, like I keep thinking, like, if I'm going to go play a game of Legendary, what is something that I want to pull out of the box each time? And when I look at the list of cards that's in here, honestly, there's not a whole lot in here that I would want to pull out each time. I mean, the only
Fair.
thing I can think of is probably, I mean, I guess Beast or Spider Gwen, just because I really like the Spider Verse stuff.
And I would do like any Cabal or Illuminati
Yeah.
teams, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. Let me see. So my third box, unless you have anything, do you have anything else to add about that one?
No, actually, I'm all set.
Okay, all right, cool. My third box is probably going to be X-Men.
And now we're going to disagree.
Okay, all right. What's yours?
I actually put Legendary's World War Hulk as the third.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll talk about my reasoning for putting X-Men here versus your reasoning for putting World War Hulk there. Okay.
Okay.
So if we remember the boxes that I have ahead of this, I have, and this is not in any order. This I have Secret Wars Volume 1, Dark City, and World War Hulk ahead of this. So when I look at this box, I am a sucker for a lot of the cards that are in it specifically. Some of the heroes in here, like the classic X-Men that are in here, those are things that I really like. Some of the masterminds in here as well, and some of the schemes are great. But that doesn't mean that it's my favorite box. Okay, it's not something that I'm always continuously going back for to be able to grab, specific cards out of it. Now the reason is because some of the key words in this set I'm just not a huge fan of. Like for example, Light Show. I don't like using Light Show, and so some of the heroes in here are just kind of useless to me in that aspect. One other thing that I don't really like about this set, even though it thematically makes sense, is this also uses some of the divided cards. So when we're talking about Legion or Colossus and Wolverine, Aurora and Northstar, these have divided cards in them, and I'm just like I said for Civil War, it's just something that I kind of have a not just kind of knocks it down a little bit for me. It does have those cool X-Men heroes that you like Kitty Pryde. It has Havoc, and it has Beast, Banshee, all these classic X-Men, X-23 as well. And so these are X-Men that I do like to go and bring into different scenarios and play with, but it's just some of the other things that are in here are such negatives to me that it kind of brings it back down a little bit for me. Now, the villain groups in here are really fun. I really like playing against Shadow X, and I also really like the Hellfire Club. Both of those groups are really fun to play against. Like I said, Shadow X is cool because you're able to actually recruit those X-Men into your actual hero group, so that's pretty fun. I like that it does provide you with quite a few henchmen group as well, and pretty diverse abilities within those henchmen groups. Now, the other cool thing about this set, and the reason it puts it ahead of these previous two boxes that I had talked about, is that there are new heroic bystanders that you recruit as actual heroes. And the heroes that these bystanders become are actually useful heroes in your games. And so, like for example, Wolfsbane allows you to berserk 3 times. Then you have some other ones that allow you to draw cards and or gain 2 attack. There's another one that allows you to either, if you played a tech hero, you get to draw a card. And all of these different bystanders are in here are really nice to be able to mix up the game a little bit, and so it adds another twist to the whole X-Men theme. Um, and so overall, I really like this set just because of the fact that there are a lot of classic X-Men and there are a lot of really good masterminds, and it adds a little bit more diversity to a few different aspects in the game. So that's why I put it 3. But what is your reasoning for putting World War Hulk in your third spot?
So for World War Hulk, I'd have to say one of the first reasons is the introduction of the ability Outwit.
Okay.
I'm I I feel like that if you try to go down an Outwit path as you want to use that ability in your hero deck, you're sort of setting yourself up to kind of not necessarily have as much of a consistent deck, just because you might specifically go buy a card of a different price just so you can try to get that Outwit ability,
Okay.
and that's not my play style. But I'm also a type of person who likes the Spider-Man cards or likes the Daredevil cards, where I can consistently know what my cost is going to be coming up to be soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Outwit doesn't play well for me. I'm also not a huge fan of the Masterminds.
Okay.
I actually think World War Hulk's Masterminds are a little too difficult,
Okay.
and that can kind of kill the game for me.
Okay.
Which I know is funny considering I actually like. We're gonna say I like playing Apocalypse, and that's just a stupid villain mastermind altogether. But
The ultimate troll.
yeah, sometimes they just make no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that is the reason I kind of put in this position. And it's not so much as World War Hulk's in that place because I think there are a lot of bad things in there. On the contrary, I love the transforming ability. That's that's so much fun where you can like get Bruce Banner to turn into a new Hulk card. That's fantastic.
Or even Korg or She-Hulk or Rick Jones or anything like that. There's so many cool transforming cards in there.
Those abilities and those cards are great, and I think, and I've heard you ramble on,
of course,
stop about it. But it comes back to World War Hulk is this place for me, not because it deserves because it's being worse. I just think X-Men is better.
Okay, and fair enough. So, what do you think about the transforming masterminds?
I liked a wrench in any plan.
Yeah.
Just a wrench in whatever best laid plan you have, because there is nothing more frustrating than getting a perfect hand set up to fight the mastermind that you are ready to go at, and then not only does that master strike decimate your hand, but oh, by the way, the mastermind now is going to transform into something completely different. There's your strategy out the window. Sorry, not sorry.
It's like the Red King, right? You can't fight him on one side. If there's a villain in the city, then it flips over and it gains attack and stuff like that. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but it's a lot of fun. I really like those masterminds a lot. But all right, so since ours differ on that one, what we can do then is we can go to the next one and kind of talk about where we're starting to branch off a little bit. So my next box, which is my fourth box out of the 6. Okay, so this is my I guess my third favorite one is going to be Secret Wars Volume 1.
And I'm going to once again disagree with you. I actually put X-Men here as my fourth box.
Okay.
And like I said when I was talking about World War Hulk a moment ago, it's because I think X-Men was just slightly, just enough better than World War Hulk to go in my fourth place.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, we actually have some difference of opinions on why X-Men is good, and I'd like to actually share.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. What is it?
Okay, so number 1 out of X-Men is the X-Gene ability. You now have an ability that makes your discard pile useful.
That's true.
That is, I thought, revolutionary for the game. It added a whole new dynamic to it, which I thought was fantastic. The next ability, that number 2 off the list, which ironically enough is, I know, in the same order as the rule sheet for it, Piercing Energy. Yeah. I like being able to ignore some fight effects, and I like being able.
But that's actually not correct. Actually, the piercing ability, remember, it actually does. You still have to do the fight effects.
Correct. I'm sorry, my mistake.
No, it's okay. I remember we made that adjustment before.
Yep. Not so much as ignoring the fire effects. I meant ignoring any special conditions. That's what I meant to say.
Correct.
So you automatically rescue any human shields or things like that. And that can be for against printed victory point value instead of attack, because that's what piercing energy is for. And you know what? Maybe you're having a hard time hitting that 24 attack Thanos, and you want to be able to just hit it with 6 piercing energy instead.
Yeah.
I can't remember the actual victory point value.
I think it was 6, yeah, 6 or 7.
I think it's 6 or 7, but either way, I think that's just a lifesaver and really cool ability to add in there. And then next is the addition of soaring flight as another ability.
Yeah.
Like
I kind
the
of felt
ability,
like soaring flight was a little bit more of a modification on wall crawl.
it was. I see your point there. It makes a lot of sense. But the downside of wall crawl is they in that Spider-Man set they actually specifically introduced a villain that could counteract wall crawl. Feast, where you eat the card that's on top of your deck, which if you
Hmm.
wall crawled it, it's on top of your deck
Yeah.
in its exact cost. Soaring flight is just gets set to the side, so it's kind of left in limbo and
Yeah.
immune to any effects that might happen. It's like an investment for the future, if you will.
Well, not just that, but then you get to add it as a 7th card as well. So that's kind of
Right.
nice.
And a 7 card hand, I think, is always better than a 6 card hand.
Of
Like,
course it
do
is.
the
Of
math.
course.
Do the math.
Yeah. Of course.
And then finally, I really Phoenix, Dark Phoenix, like Phoenix as a playable hero and Dark Phoenix as a villain or a mastermind. Awesome choice. I mean, you've seen my play, Matt. It's Phoenix. It's
Yeah.
X-Men.
I love that playmat, honestly. I've considered getting one of those playmats. Honestly, I'm not sure whether I would get that one, though, or if I'd get the Thanos one, to be honest. Just because you have the Phoenix one, so there would not be really a point of me having the exact same mat as you. So, the Thanos one is pretty cool, too, though.
I honestly, I would have been happy with either one, but Phoenix or Dark Phoenix is my personal favorite, and my wife bought it for me, so
Yeah.
she knew me well enough.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
So
Yeah,
that's where I put X-Men then.
I definitely agree with you about the keywords, though. There are a lot of good keywords in the X-Men set. I really, really like the X-Gene keyword. I thought that was a really good one, and I thought it could be. I definitely think it could be used in other sets as well. So it could be really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. So the reason that I put Secret Wars Volume 1 here instead of putting like X-Men or something, or like World War Hulk or something like that here, is because I really like the heroes in this set specifically. So, for example, there are a lot of iconic heroes in here that I constantly go back to when I'm actually doing my playthroughs. Most recently, I did a playthrough with the new Thor set, and I put Lady Thor in there. I threw her in there, and then I gave her Mjolnir as well. So that's actually something I started doing as well, just like for fun games. Is I'm just kind of like adding different things into different hero groups, just kind of mess with things. So, like for example, for Lady Thor, I took out like 2 or 3 of her like commons or uncommons, and I threw in a couple of Thor's common cards in there, just like Mjolnir. Or like I did another game where I played against Thanos, and I used Thor, Superior Iron Man, and I used Captain America, and I took out some of Cap's cards and I put in Mjolnir, and I took out of some of Thor's cards and I put in Stormbreaker from Beta Ray Bill. And so just kind of like messing with those kinds of things, it's always fun. But anyways, so some of the heroes in here I really like as well. I'm like, for example, like I really like Old Man Logan, just because I love the X-Men. I love X-Men characters, and I really like Wolverine overall. Can't get enough Wolverine. And I really like the Cabal characters that are in here as well. Like for example, Thanos having the ability to just like continuously like smash bystanders over and over again and just get stronger and stronger every turn is amazing. His rare is super cool.
I call it mercy.
Yeah. So, and it also adds in things like Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Black Panther. I mean, if you're an MCU fan, this is definitely the set that you're going to love. And the best part about this set, though, is that this is the original set to actually introduce sidekicks. And it's definitely the best sidekick in the game. They clearly had to balance it with the other set. You have Bucky sidekicks. And Bucky allows you to just automatically draw 2 cards, which in and of itself is just a +1 for your hand. So it's amazing.
Those are all things I would agree with you on, and actually, like a lot of those points you make are going to be reasons I put Secret Wars Volume 1 higher than you do.
Yeah, okay. The reason mine is not higher is because of the masterminds in this set. And honestly, the masterminds in here are not that great. The only one that I really I enjoy playing against is probably Zombie Green Goblin, and just because he can be pretty difficult to play against. I think I've played against Madeline Pryor a handful of times, and it's been okay. Nimrod a couple times, and Wasteland Hulk once or twice, but honestly, the only one here that I would really go back to is Zombie Green Goblin.
So yeah, we definitely agree on the mastermind thing too. That would probably be a negative for me on Secret Wars,
Yeah,
but I just my criteria is a little bit more different in where I'm placing Secret Wars. I'll explain that more on where I place it
yeah,
once we get
yeah.
there because I do have a different spot for it than you
Yeah,
do.
and the thing that also helped to push this ahead of the X-Men set for me was the henchman groups as well. I really like the Modoc's henchman group, and I also my favorite henchman group in the entire game is Thorkor. I really like Thorkor. Having the ability to have multi-class heroes in here was something that I really liked. And it also goes into the actual heroes as well. Having multi-class heroes in and of itself was something that really changed the game for me because it allowed me a chance to be able to manipulate things much easier versus older sets where you weren't able to do that. So that was another factor that I really enjoyed about this. But then again, I mean, the reason this set's not higher is because there are some heroes in here that I'm not actually that big of a fan of. That I like the characters themselves, but honestly, overall, they're not that impressive of you could say, a force. So one of them, for example, is Black Bolt. I've never been that big of a fan of this character in this game, just because like I can never seem to get a game going where he's that efficient.
See, I actually love Black Bolt because he's unique, he's different, he's fun, and he's got the cards that give you recruit and attack.
Yeah.
So you get both. You get two for the price of one, basically.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to differ as well, I think, on Magic, because I'm not a huge fan of Magic. Just having the ability to collect sidekicks over and over again. I mean, it's nice, I guess, to keep your deck thin, but it's also sometimes I just like to be able to build a consistent deck that I know is going to be good throughout the entire game.
See, I like being able to draw my entire
Yeah,
deck and just have it in my hand.
I know you do. I know you do. It worked out well for you that one game we played the other day where you had 5 cards left in your hand.
And
What game was that? What were we playing against? Do you remember?
I don't recall, but I do actually remember that I was still extremely helpful, like
Yeah,
in all of our games
yeah.
where I do the work and you take the glory.
Exactly, exactly. Except for when you focus on Hawkeye and then we just lose. So,
Hey, Hawkeye is a national treasure. Do not insult him.
Okay then. So my number 2 box is going to be. It's a tough choice, honestly. I go back and forth with this one between number 2 and number 1, just because both of these boxes are so good. They have so much good content in them, and I have such like a personal connection to the characters and to the storylines that go with them. But my number 2 for now is going to be World War Hulk.
Okay.
And that's going to be
Uh,
a surprise to you, I know, because I
that,
am a huge proponent for people buying this set.
yeah, I kind of was expecting you to fall out of your chair when I told you I put World War Hulk so low on my list, and now to hear you put it as number two, I
And it's not because
okay,
I like it less. It's not because I like this set any less. I mean,
okay.
because this set is truly amazing. There are so many good characters in here. If you like the Gladiator Hulk storyline, the Planet Hulk, or if you like World War Hulk storyline, this set is so good. You have so many great characters. For example, if you're an MCU fan, you have Korg, you have Meek, you have Gladiator Hulk, you have Bruce Banner, all these great characters. But if you're also a comic book fan, you have characters like Amadeus Cho. You have Kyra, which is the wife of Gladiator Hulk on Planet Hulk. You have Heroem, which was another gladiator in the gladiator pits with him. But also, Hulkbuster Iron Man is in this set too, which is amazing. He is a super cool character.
So I'm gonna tell you my second now, and it's I. We can run the scenarios in our head. I think I now know what your number one is
Before
going to
before
be.
you do that, with the heroes that are in this set, are there any heroes in the World War Hulk that you can think of that you're like not a huge fan of? Which ones do you like look at in your box and you think like honestly I'm not gonna play them?
Honestly, and I feel like you and the rest of the internet world are probably going to hate me for this. Um, I, I'm totally fine with not playing Korg.
What?
I'm
What?
sorry.
All right, we're ending transmission.
We're done now?
We're
Okay,
just done.
goodbye.
All right. I'll see you after this coronavirus thing is done. Goodbye. You have time to reflect on your choices and think about your life.
Don't don't hate me because I'm right.
You're right. I don't hate you because you're right. I hate you because you're thoroughly wrong.
Well, fine, we'll disagree here. But I'm sorry. I can't bring myself.
What don't you like about Korg?
It's just I can,
It's
we're
probably
not.
the outwit keyword, right?
What was that?
It's probably just the outwit keyword.
I'm really not a fan.
I
Okay, like
love
the
it.
outlet word, and it's just I no.
See, that's why I'm on the opposite end here, because I love the keywords in this set. Transform was such a cool twist on the game. Having Bruce Banner in there to be able to just transform him into like that Hulk that smashes over and over again for 4 attack is so good. I think honestly the only hero in this set that I don't go back to play, and I think there are two of them actually. One of them is Joe Fixit Grey Hulk. Have you used him before?
I can yes, and I can see your argument for that. I would agree with
It's
you.
just thematically, I'm not a huge fan of him. I just don't like the character that much, and
I
so I
mean,
find myself not going back to it.
does anyone like a character where their name is Joe Fixit?
Yeah, I guess not, right? And then the other one is probably Scar, Son of Hulk, and that's just because I haven't found a good game to fit him into yet. Really, I mean, he's fun enough. He's just another twist on Hulk. But if that's the case, I'm just gonna play Bruce Banner.
True. That one you are 100% correct.
Yeah. But one of the best things about this set is the masterminds in this set, in my opinion. And that's because
So it's where we disagree. Then I dislike the
100%,
masterminds. You like
100%.
the masterminds.
Yeah, the masterminds to me in this set are so fun and so cool. I love the fact that they change over the course of time. It's just like the adapting masterminds from the Agents of Shield set to me. Because these having the ability to transform these masterminds back and forth makes you really have to think on your feet in terms of how you're building your deck. Because you have to be prepared for both sides of the masterminds card. So, for example, with MODOK, if one side you can only attack it with attack, the other side you can only attack it with recruit. So you have to be prepared for both sides of it.
See, now I consider those slightly different than the adapting masterminds. Like, yes, you do have to adapt with that strategy and change it throughout the game, but every time you hit the mastermind, he has one less tactic, and like you are lessening your options, so you're incentivized to try to fight him more and make him less. With the Hulk masterminds, they're just transformed because they're just transforming. Like a
Yeah.
Master Strike, woohoo, it's changing
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. Thematically, it makes sense for some of them, but I do understand what you're saying as well. Like for example, with Thunderbolt Ross, when he becomes the Red Hulk, that does make sense. So
Yes.
hopefully we get
Oh,
to see.
if we're approaching this from a theme standpoint, absolutely,
Oh
one
yeah,
hundred
yeah,
percent
yeah,
correct. This box does a great job with the theme.
yeah. I think this out of all the boxes, this is probably the best theme slash storyline box that they have done.
I would. That's a close agreement.
What would you potentially put next to it?
As far as like applying to the theme,
Yeah,
that did a
theme or
good job with
storyline
it.
with it.
I actually would go ahead and put actually Secret Wars applying, like the fact that they went into that with the theme. Like I thought Secret
I
Wars
mean, that's
Volume One
true.
was really
That's
good with
true.
the theme.
That's true. This one is it just feels so complete with the theme versus like Secret Wars. I feel like that was such a huge storyline that it's a little bit tougher to be able to do that. And there are just so many obscure characters too.
I'm gonna say you don't like how Secret Wars goes with the theme because you feel it can kind of be a jumbled mess. But at the
Which in and of itself is what Secret Wars was.
right, that's the theme. So you could almost say Secret Wars is really playing into that feeling.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, and then the other thing that I really liked about this was that there are some really great actual schemes in here as well. Like for example, I love this shoot Hulk into space one. I loved subjugate with obedience discs. World War Hulk is a great one as well. And also cytoplasm spike invasion was a really great thematic scheme as well, because in the Planet Hulk's comic run, the cytoplasms come in from space from like this giant like ship or satellite that the Red King has. Is it right? Yeah, the Red King has brought down to the planet, and so these cytoplasms come down and they're like taking over different organisms that are on the planet. So it's a really good thematic one, and so the henchman groups that they have in here work really well with it as well. So really cool.
I like shoot Hulk into space.
Yeah, Shoot Hulk into space is great.
It's just fun, and I love the comic too.
Yeah.
Like it's just hilarious.
Yeah, and that's like the very start of the Planet Hulk one.
Yeah,
You
right at
know.
the beginning.
Yep. So, and then honestly, the other two heroes in here that I specifically go back to all the time are Rick Jones and Sentry. Have you had much experience using either of those guys?
We've played a game with both of them, and
Mm-hmm.
I do like both of them. They
Yeah.
are a lot of fun. Sentry, in particular, I
Yeah.
feel is pretty helpful.
The schizophrenic, agoraphobic superhero that turns into the void if he gets overly overly angry and destroys the entire game. So
Maybe we'll just call him an. Is that an anti-hero? I think that's an anti-hero.
sure, that's what we'll go with. That's fine with me. So. So yeah, so that's why I put this here. And honestly, this is so close for me to being my number one as well. But what's your number two?
So my number two, and this is I came up with my number two, my number one, and my number two, and the other four are behind us now because I have this unofficial criteria of when I get a box set, a big box, I ask myself, are the hero like what are the heroes and villains, and are they good or bad? What are the abilities that are brought in? Are they good or bad? And finally, the last and third, and I guess some could be kind of an ambiguous and debatable criteria is does it revolutionize or change the game when it was brought in?
Okay. Okay.
So I used that loosely with the previous four, but these two I have as number one and number two because specifically because I feel like they embody those criteria I just
Yeah.
have. So to go no further ado on that, my number two is actually Secret Wars Volume One.
My only thing with that criteria is that with that last aspect that you named, does it revolutionize the game? You could very easily say that Civil War revolutionizes the game with the number of split heroes that it has,
True.
but it's a mechanic that we don't like.
No, and that's what I say. Like that's why the last one
How
I said is
fun is
kind of
it, right?
debatable. It's an ambiguous and debatable criteria, but that's kind of I took those first two and kind of brought them into that third one
Yeah,
and
it's
sort
kind
of
of
put
like
my
you
foot
have
there.
a Venn diagram with three aspects that are all meeting together in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. If we want to have a visual on this, that would probably be the best one.
Okay, okay,
So Secret Wars Volume One, and the reason is because this is the first time we see Illuminati and the Cabal brought in, and they did it with such glorious introduction.
yeah,
You've got Illuminati bringing in Doctor Strange and Superior Iron Man, or uh, the wonderful tech range card that now can draw more and better cards and also have some attack behind it. And then you've got Cabal, who you said already has Thanos coming in full force, and also Namor. So some pretty fantastic and interesting heroes on top of like two new teams. We haven't seen these types of hero teams before. And then also, this was the box that introduced the multi-class heroes or the multi-class cards, not the split cards.
yeah,
Those were two separate things. This was the box that introduced the multi-class cards. In particular, the best example is Captain Marvel.
yeah.
She's range and strength, and I think those are kind of at least my go-to hero types.
Yeah.
Range and
I would
strength.
say I would agree with you. I think that some of the best heroes are range.
Thor being one of them,
Yeah.
Storm being another,
Range
Captain
and
Marvel.
strength, I guess you're right. I mean, honestly, when I think about it, some of the best heroes in the game are going to be range and strength. Which Captain Marvel do you prefer? Do you like this Captain Marvel or Agents of Shield Captain Marvel?
Oh, Agents of Shield. Honestly, I know I'm talking up a pretty good case here because of multi-class cards and everything, but Agents of Shield, Captain Marvel, just because she's an awesome card right out the get with, hey, do you have or 4 shield cards to make this effect happen? Why, yes, I start with 12.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That draw card for that one is really good. I also really
Right.
like the one that if you've drawn a card, the range hero, if you've drawn a card, you get +2. Is it +1 or +2 attack? I think it's +1 attack.
Plus
So it's
1.
base 2 attack +1 if you've already drawn a card that turn.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly though, I still prefer this Captain Marvel from Secret Wars Volume 1 more than I like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one, just because of the multi-class aspect and because some of the heroes, like the cards in here, are really, really good in this set. Like, for example, the one that's a 3-cost hero that has 2 recruit, but you get +1 recruit for each range hero that you've already played. That one gets really good really fast, especially if you're playing it really strategically with some other cards like Lady Thor, or if you're playing with
I was
like
going
a
to say,
base
don't
set
forget
Thor
about
as
Lady
well.
Thor.
Lady Thor is awesome.
Lady Thor is fantastic. feel like all she is though is just a slightly reduced Thor.
Which is
Which
amazing.
what was that?
Which is amazing. The
I mean,
fact that the requirements are just a little bit lower makes it so much more attainable.
I I agree. I think that the fact that she's pretty much the same thing but just slightly reduced. I don't know, kind of a cop out. But I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I'm talking bad, but I'm not actually like disagreeing or disliking Lady Thor. I think she's great.
Yeah.
So I digress.
Yeah. And the artwork on those cards is phenomenal.
Artwork is fantastic.
Yeah.
I also so like that's like my criteria for like those heroes and then like those abilities coming in. I also this was the box, like you said, that introduced sidekicks, which I thought was another revolutionary part of the game. Even though, yeah, Bucky's kind of broke it, and they need to make it better with Civil War. But hey, I still
or
don't
worse,
have my.
actually. I said, or worse, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah. So that's just like my reasoning behind it. I do agree with you. Yes, the masterminds are lacking. I do love Zombie Green Goblin, and I'm okay with World War Wasteland Hulk. But yeah, Nimrod Super Sentinel seems kind of pointless.
Yeah. I mean, and some of the villain groups in here are really cool too. I mean, like if you have Limbo and you have Manhattan Earth 1610, both of those ones have really cool villains in there. And the fact that you can recruit the Manhattan Earth 1610 villains is really awesome. And the Limbo ones are just like those classic X-Men in like the actual 90s and like 80s classic artwork.
Yeah, no, definitely true.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a good set overall. And honestly, how do you kind of fall on Namor? Do you like to use Namor? I find myself, I'm kind of like in the anti-Namor camp. Not because of the character itself, but just because I find that his cards are not as useful as something else. You know?
So I want I want him to be useful. I see where you're coming from. And my love for Namor is the character more so than his playability. I have also had a hard time getting him to synergize well with others. I think he has the ability to. We just haven't found it yet.
Yeah.
Keep in mind too, I think the time we've always used Namor is against masterminds that are probably his kryptonite, his anti-play style.
Okay.
So maybe that might be our problem.
Could be. Every time I see him, all I can think of though is the legendary fisherman from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, no, that's also accurate.
Yeah. So random, but it's just every time I see it, that's all I think of. So
I mean, originality died a long time ago, so maybe the legendary fisherman is based off Namor.
I have no doubt that that's probably it. So based on what I've heard so far, and based on what you've heard from me so far, it sounds like our number one box is going to be exactly the same.
Dark City.
Dark City. And honestly,
best.
Until I picked this set up, okay, I was so locked into World War Hulk. I'm like, this is my favorite set. It has the best keywords. It has awesome hero groups, the villain groups, the masterminds. Everything about this set is super cool. But I have been consistently playing Dark City, and man almighty, it hurts me to say, I like this set better.
And
I like it better.
The funny thing is, this was the first big box expansion.
I know, it's astounding to even think about. But you know, it makes sense though, in the fact that if it's the first big box they're going into, they have so many chances to be able to bring in amazing characters that have not been in the game yet. They can do it in such a cool way in terms of the new masterminds and the new schemes that are coming out. Everything can be original. Versus some of these later boxes, it can be a little bit more difficult to have that originality.
No, absolutely. This is the box that brought in the X-Force, the Marvel Knights, more X-Men, which, remember, in the original box, with the first one for Marvel Legendary, you got that and you opened it and you went through all the heroes, and you were probably excited to see the X-Men. But then you started realizing, wow, they're missing a lot of X-Men here. And then this box just brought them all back.
Yeah. What is it? They had Storm, Cyclops, they had...
Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Gambit.
Jean Grey wasn't in the base.
Or no, not Jean Grey. Emma Frost.
Rogue.
Sorry, Emma
Rogue.
Frost. Yep, Rogue.
Who else? There's a couple more. If you guys know who it is, just leave it in the comments below. So we know there are more out there.
pretty sure I just listed off all of them. It was Cyclops, Emma Frost, Storm,
Storm.
Gambit, Rogue, Wolverine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that's everybody.
That was it.
Yeah.
Which I just listed off all this, and yeah, those are some of the all-time favorites of X Men. But you can, hello,
But there are so
where's
many
Professor
missing.
X?
Yeah.
Where's Professor X? Where's Jean Grey? Where's Angel?
Where's
They all make an
Colossus?
appearance. Where's Colossus? No,
Yeah.
all make an appearance in Dark City.
Yeah.
It's like they knew what they did wrong and they wanted to fix it.
Even more so, with the way that they did the artwork, it made it so much better, which set up every later set to be even better. Because with the fact that the base set was all one card, one piece of artwork on each card, it made it so much more difficult to be able to differentiate between what card is what you're looking at on the actual HQ. And so having different pictures for each card that it is helped you to be able to more readily tell what card you're going to be trying to recruit.
Right. Nope. Definitely. I love the artwork in here. I think it like they say it's Dark City. The artwork almost looks a little darker too, and
Yeah.
it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about the keywords that were brought into this set?
I really like the keywords as well. I really like some of the specific heroes that use them, like for example Daredevil. Daredevil's ability to be able to stack those cards and be able to tell and be guess what's on there is really fun. I really like Colossus's ability to be able to absorb wounds for you. And I honestly I find that when I look at this set, a lot of these cards that are in here, I keep coming back to every time I get into a new game. And so even if it thematically doesn't make sense, I'm like, it'd be really fun to throw Iceman into this game, or throw Nightcrawler into Professor X, anything like that. So I think I am going to play an Old Man Logan game pretty soon though. And now that I have the Dark City set, I'm going to go Old Man Logan, X-23, and Professor X now.
That'd be pretty good. I'd play that game.
Yeah, probably play against Mysterio, just kind of try and keep it more comic accurate. Just because Mysterio was one of the primary villains of that comic run.
Well, there is the Wolverine X Weapon X comic run where everything is a world taken over by zombies and all of that.
Yep.
And yep, you probably need to do that one with all those Wolverines.
No, that's a game you're going to do, I think, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. But I'm letting you also have the chance if you want to play it too. It's fun. I can't hold all the
fun. A Wolverine multiverse game, so that could be sweet. Be a lot of fun. Another thing that I really like about this one is it has my favorite, I would say, mastermind of all time, just due to sheer nostalgia, and that's Mr. Sinister.
I'm sorry, Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is cool, but the '90s child in me is screaming out and saying, "Mr. Sinister!"
Oh, and then the year 2000 comes around and Apocalypse just crushes him.
Yeah, that's true. But still have that inner voice. So yeah, and so this is the first set to actually introduce special bystanders as well. There's not a huge diversity in the bystanders, but it is something that really helped revolutionize the game and set up later sets for you to be able to make sure that you are introducing those new bystanders every time. So when you're doing new bystanders in your game, do you just put everything into one big pile and you have a massive stack of bystanders, or do you shuffle them up and then sort 30 of them out?
So I actually kind of did what I also did with the Shield Officer deck.
Okay.
I took out all of the Marias that equal and then put in Shield Officers that matched up the numbers added up.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Exactly.
So you're using my house rule for that one.
Yes, and I tried doing that same approach with the bystanders.
Yeah.
However, I found myself wanting a lot of the bystanders still. So what I did was I took duplicates of the bystanders and I kind of removed one of each.
Oh, okay.
And then I have 15 regular bystanders. So I think my bystander deck is something like only 30 or 40 still, but this way I have a chance of getting all of the bystander fun.
And see, I just kind of go with, I use that house rule for the Shield Officer stack just because I feel like that was a mistake they made with that box set, was making it so that you just threw them into the actual pile of Maria Hills. And so I divided out my Maria Hills and I added in the actual additional Shield Officers. But then for my bystanders, honestly, I just throw them all in a big pile and I shuffle them up each game and I just set them down. I do the same thing with the wounds though too, with my Grievous wounds.
See, I don't have own Civil War myself, so I don't have the Grievous wounds. I don't have to do that. It's just regular wounds. But I do own all of the box sets, surprisingly enough, that have all the special bystanders, and I want to have at least a chance of getting one of them at some point.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep in mind too, there are quite a few bystanders in there now that some of them are just pointless and useless, and others actually harm you. So I feel like mixing them with like 15 regular bystanders and then some of all the other cool bystanders means you're playing your luck to see if maybe this will work out for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. My thing about this set, and just to go back to the heroes that we were talking about, when I think about the heroes in this set, I can't think of a single hero that that I would look at and go, honestly, I don't want to play them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Every hero on this set is everything I want to play, even Ghost Rider. Please don't hate me, world.
100%.
And then I also love Domino, like because she brings versatile into play for the first time, and that is an awesome keyword.
Yeah. Versatile is really, really fun to play with. Now, and that's the thing that really pushes this ahead of the other sets, because every other set has at least a few heroes that I look at and I go, honestly, if that wasn't in here, I wouldn't miss it.
And you know what? Yeah, when you look at Dark City set, there is not a single card in here, like not just heroes, but also masterminds or villain groups that I wouldn't enjoy playing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The only thing that I have a negative about this, and it's not a negative because it's bad, it's the only negative is that I wish that they would have included more X-Force heroes in later sets.
See, that's not a problem with this set then. That's a problem with like later, like small box sets later on.
Agreed, 100%, 100%. It's just a gripe about the fact that the X-Force, I feel like the X-Force heroes were kind of left behind. I think that the Deadpool set would have been a really good way to be able to do that.
I was about to actually suggest that. I think they missed an opportunity with the Deadpool set by not making X Force hero because he kind of is.
Yeah. Well, I think they missed more opportunities within the Deadpool set than just whether or not it was X-Force. Right? That set is more like a party set, Just like something you get together with like five people and play. So
I don't even count it when it comes to looking for small box sets. I just overlook it every time.
Yeah. That and the screen cap sets. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
So what I figure we'll do after this, since this is the end of our list, what I figure we'll do is we're going to start by doing some other lists in the future. So I figure the next list we're going to do is we can do our small box list. We'll rank each of the small boxes in order. So we'll talk about each one starting from like the one we like least all the way up to the one we like best. And of course, this is our recommendation in terms of which one you buy first as well. So if you have a chance, and especially because like some of these small boxes are selling out quick. You know how I told you that the Guardians of the Galaxy one was reprinted already on Upper Deck?
Already gone?
It's gone.
Not surprised.
Yeah, it was gone from Upper Deck within like a week. It's crazy.
I believe that.
And so what we'll do then after we do the small box set is we can do another couple episodes. We're going to do an episode or two where we'll talk about different teams and we'll rank the teams that we like in order. So like X-Force, X-Men, Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Heroes of Asgard, all these different sets, just to be able to talk about which team we think is the best one. And then from there, we can get into actual hero classes as well. And so we have a lot of different ideas for what we want to do for this podcast. And since coronavirus doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, well, we should be throwing these up. So if you guys have any recommendations for different videos you guys want to hear about, let us know in the comments below. If you guys are interested in that, we'll be happy to put it together. Otherwise, we'll be throwing up some more solo videos for you guys. I have a solo game that's going to be coming up the next few days. It was another shot that I took at Hela. It was Beta Ray Bill, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. So the Guardians of the Galaxies are coming back for vengeance. So
you're gonna have to tell me outside of the video beforehand how it went.
Oh yeah, I will do. So, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe.